Less than a week out from the NHL draft, we have a trade to announce. And I'll tell you all about it right here on SDPN. The Nashville Predators have traded Ryan Johansen to the Colorado Avalanche, 50% retained. And if you don't remember what he makes, kind of a lot. So let's talk about that. But first, think you know which way it's gonna go? I didn't think Ryan Johansen was gonna go to the Avalanche, to tell you that much. But if you do think you know which way it's gonna go, you can visit Sports Interaction and make your next bet there. I made some little bets, some little sprinkles on the upcoming NHL draft, where different players are gonna go over and under the position they're drafted in. Check out Dangle's doozies on sportsinteraction.com and NHL props. Want to bet? Visit sportsinteraction.com/SDPN and download the Sports Interaction app, but only if you're 19 plus. Please play responsibly. So here's the trade as announced by the Nashville Predators on their very own website. Nashville, Tennessee, June 24th, 2023. They're getting official about it. Incoming Nashville Predators general manager Barry Trotz announced today that the team has acquired forward Alex Galchenyuk from the Colorado Avalanche in exchange for forward Ryan Johansen. The Predators will retain 50% of Johansen's contract, which has 2 years, $8 million annual average value, AAV, remaining. So there was something interesting in there when I was doing my Brad Treliving research the other day, and if you want to watch that, that's on my YouTube channel, Steve Dangle, all one word. But I noticed that Barry Trotz was not listed as the Nashville Predators general manager, like on NHLTradeTracker.com, which I use often. I'm trying to think of the last time a general manager was announced as the incoming general manager. But it was Barry Trotz who announced it, so I'm going to call it Barry Trotz's move. His first move as general manager of the Preds. There's more. On behalf of the Predators organization, we want to thank Ryan for his contributions to our team and community over the last 7+ years, Trotz said. He played a large role in our franchise's accomplishments since arriving in January 2016, helping lead us to the 2017 Stanley Cup Final, the 2018 President's Trophy, back-to-back Central Division titles in 2018 and 2019, and several postseason appearances. Ryan also dedicated a considerable amount of time to the Predators Foundation and helped us grow the game in Middle Tennessee, including his work with youth hockey in our community. We wish Ryan all the best in Colorado. Galchenyuk, 29, will become an unrestricted free agent on July 1st. The press release also includes Galchenyuk's birthday, which, is that necessary? So if you're wondering why Ryan Johansen makes $8 million, I mean, there's your answer right there in the press release. A wild amount of success with the Nashville Predators, and they basically did it all except for win the cup. They got very close, but Sidney Crosby and, more importantly, Phil Kessel and the Pittsburgh Penguins stood in their way en route to back-to-back cups. But Ryan Johansen was part of a big injection into that Predators roster at the time. He joined the team. PK Subban also joined the team, and they went straight to the Stanley Cup Final. Remember Ryan Johansen butting heads going back and forth with Ryan Kessler. Battle of the Ryans! But since then, Johansen's career hasn't exactly gone the way you hope a career would go for a guy who makes $8 million a year. Ryan Johansen played a full 82-game season with the Preds when he arrived, followed by 79 and then 80. After that, 68, 48, 79, and 55. So that season where Johansen played 79 games recently, that was just the 21-22 season, he was pretty good, pretty productive. The sort of player you expect Ryan Johansen to be. Maybe not $8 million, but very productive. 26 goals, 37 assists for 63 points in 79 games. 6'3", 215, 220. He's the sort of player that teams love. And he's only 30 years old, which isn't that up there. But the dude has dealt with a lot of injuries, so maintaining all that is going to be a big part of his tenure with Colorado. And sometimes you take a chance on guys. Sometimes you take a chance on a player who has a track record of success, a track record of being a very good National Hockey League player, and you say, if we have to rest him, if he needs a little bit of help mid-season or something, we need to find him some rest. We got to put him on this line instead of this line. The Colorado Avalanche appear to be willing to work with him. And last year, that's basically all the reigning cup champs at the time did. Gabriel Landeskog had a terrible time of it. Cale Makar was in and out of the lineup, and who else? Everyone, basically. Ryan Johansen had 28 points in 55 games last season for the Nashville Predators, and that's good, not great. It's certainly not $8 million great, but the great news for the Colorado Avalanche is he does not need to be $8 million great. Look at the current free agency class. Colorado's own player, JT Compher, who was in whispers about the Chicago Blackhawks today, he's going to be one of the biggest free agents in this free agency class. And no disrespect, I think he's underrated. I gained a lot of respect for him during that Stanley Cup run a couple years ago, but that dude is going to get paid and probably overpaid because this free agent class stinks. There's still good players available, but like there's no big star names. Like who are the biggest defenseman available is Dmitry Orlov. That's good. That's good. And who's the best forward? It's only a couple months ago Frank Saravalli said Michael Bunting was the top guy available. Ivan Barbashev, Colorado Avalanche fans, was rumored to be getting Valeri Nichushkin money. That dude got 8 years over $6 million. How is that possible? And I love that player, but oof, Maroon. But if Ryan Johansen can be a bang and crash player, score a few goals, be mostly a playmaker for the Avalanche, and he's going to be on a team with plenty of talent, $4 million, a $4 million price tag, the Avalanche were going to have to spend that in the open market. And there weren't a lot of players who can do that in the open market. There weren't a lot of Ryan Johansens available with the experience of a Ryan Johansen. And it's not just 1 year, it's 2, which is also very appealing. Johansen's also a pretty good fit for the Avalanche because is he a second line center? Is he a third line center? I think on the Avalanche, on a lot of nights, he's going to be both. They got Nathan McKinnon, they got Mikko Rantanen, they have guys who can play center, but sometimes you want to make a super line and put them together. Heck, I'm sure on a bunch of shifts, probably on the power play, they're going to combine all three, those two guys and Johansen. With, of course, Gabriel Landeskog being a wild card in this scenario because we don't exactly know his future. Any Avalanche fans who are disappointed that this doesn't replace Nazem Kadri, I don't know if you're going to ever be able to. You got a guy, he played well for you, got suspended in the playoffs, but then the very next year, he had a ridiculous career year, went and signed a big contract with a Western Conference rival, and he was not able to repeat it. Like, it's going to be difficult to go out there and find 80, 90, 100-point centers to play behind Nathan McKinnon. Let go of a couple years ago. It's not a couple years ago. Cherish the memories and everything, but don't let that get in the way of good work. I think this is good work by Joe Sakic. Frankly, I'm not sure I really understand this from the Predators' standpoint, but I'll try to rationalize it. There are a bunch of players who are in sort of similar positions, in sort of similar salary ranges. You got, obviously, Ryan Johansen, you have Blake Wheeler, and you have Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Ryan Johansen and Blake Wheeler both make around $8 million. Johansen's 8 flat, and I think Wheeler is 8.25. Both are perfectly fine. Both are going to contribute to your team. Both are going to score points. Both are going to play in your power play. Both have lots of experience. Neither is worth $8 or more than $8 million in the current NHL. They're just not. Oliver Ekman-Larsson, super not worth over $8 million. Is he an NHL player? Yeah, he could probably play in your lineup, but it doesn't make any sense at over $8 million. With the Predators probably heading into a rebuild, if you saw their roster at the end of last season, they just don't need a $8 million player with the production that Ryan Johansen has. He's not an $8 million player anymore. He's just not. He's a fine player. Definitely an NHL player. Can definitely play in your middle six and maybe your top line in a pinch. But $8 million, I just don't think so. So what are your options when you have a player who's not really worth $8 million anymore, but he's still pretty good, but he doesn't make any sense for your team? Well, you can buy him out. It's not a great option. You probably don't like that option very much. It's an option that the Winnipeg Jets are probably wrestling with Blake Wheeler, but he could get traded. But this Ryan Johansen deal is kind of informative of what a Blake Wheeler trade could be, because the Nashville Predators basically get nothing. They had to retain $4 million on Johansen for this upcoming season and the season after that. So if in 2 seasons the cap goes up, it ain't going up for the Preds. Or you look at it this way. Colorado, it's easy. You get a good player for $4 million. That part is easy to figure out. For the Nashville Predators, there wasn't an option to have Ryan Johansen for $4 million because you can't retain salary and then trade him to yourself. So what they essentially do here is they free up $4 million to do whatever they want for the next 2 seasons. And they get the rights to Alex Galchenyuk in the process. I don't think he was just randomly thrown in there. I do think it's because the Nashville Predators would like to sign him. Galchenyuk was traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs at the deadline during the Canada bubble, and he did pretty well on a pretty talented offensive line. But he didn't cash in that summer like many thought he would. He went to Arizona. Wasn't great. Went to Colorado on a tryout, and they liked him enough to keep him, but he got injured, so he played in the minors, where he was a point-per-game player, so he got called up, and 0 points in the regular season. Galchenyuk has talent, man. He's got vision. He's an NHL player, and he's struggling to find his way back in the league. If you saw the Predators roster at the end of the season, there's nothing but potential there, man. There's lots of young guys on that team, and young guys don't always play. It doesn't always make sense for the young guys to play. So if the Nashville Predators want some of their younger guys to play in the minors, they can be replaced by a guy like Galchenyuk. And worst case, I guess you send him down and he's fine for you. There's worse places you could play than Nashville, Tennessee. It's pretty fun. At face value, this is a trade where I could actually look at it and feel good for both players. Because let's face it, Ryan Johansen wants a cup. He got close, no cigar. He's got a good chance at getting one in Colorado. Better chance getting one there than he does in Nashville, at least over the next 2 years. If you're Alex Galchenyuk, where are you more likely to resurrect your NHL career? Fighting for a spot on the Colorado Avalanche, where you're going to be a depth player, and you're not really suited to be a depth player. You've got offensive talent. Or are you going to go to Nashville, where you're probably more likely to make the roster and more likely to play on the top 6 in some nights? It's a trade where I feel good for both guys. So that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comment box down below. But for now, that is it for this one. Thank you very much for watching. Click like if you like this video. Click subscribe if you really liked it. Tell all your friends. Tweet producer Drew congratulations, because Ryan Johansen is a Colorado Avalanche.